Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Live from our Vanguard Radio Network studio in Metro Manila with Atty. Edward Chico and Jan Galvez. In simulcast over 95.9 Big Sound FM Baguio City with Rico John Ferrer. Basta Batas is also heard over the following radio stations: 1188 DZXO AM, Cabanatuan City, Nueva Ecija; 95.3 Big Sound FM, Kawayan City, Isabela; 100.5 Big Sound FM, Tuguegarao City, Cagayan; 105.5 Big Sound FM, San Fernando City, La Union; 101.3 Big Sound FM, Solano, Nueva Vizcaya; 88.7 Big Radio, Tagbilaran City, Bohol; 107.7 Big Radio, Bungabong, Oriental, Mindoro; and 1395 DWMG AM, Solano, Nueva Vizcaya. This is Basta Batas.
Kaya lang, nagpaalam naman kami kasi kami yung katapat na bahay. Bago mag-eleksyon, tatanggalin din naman kagad yan.
Pagkakabit po ng tarpaulin, kailangan magpapaalam ka sa bahay-bahay. Ngayon, kung hindi papayag, hindi pwede.
Pinagsama-sama lang po yung mga kahoy para maitayo yan. Tapos yan na po. Yung ginawa po namin is parang billboard pero common ano po siya. So hindi naman siya bawal.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Ang video po na inyong napanood ay mula po sa News 5. Magandang hapon mga kabatas, araw po ng Biyernes. Today is the 27th of October 2023. Basta Biyernes, Basta Batas na naman. Magandang hapon po mga kabatas. Barangay at SK elections ngayong Lunes na. Ay sa wakas ho, natuloy na din ang ilang beses na rin hong hindi natuloy na eleksyon. May bago ba sa mga kandidato sa barangay mo o sila-sila ulit? Ha? Na-check mo ba kung sino iboboto mo? Nakakasiguro ka ba na yung mga tumatakbo sa barangay mo pasok sa mga kwalifikasyon ng COMELEC o baka naman may sabit pala sila pero kapalan na lang ng mukha kaya tumakbo, no? Sila ba ay subok na leader na o mga trapo? Ayun ang tanong. Alin ba dyan ang kandidato mo mga kabatas? Bantayan natin ang mga dayaan at kaganapan ng mga sasamantala ngayong eleksyon 2023. Mga issue at batas ating alamin at hihimayin dito lang sa Basta Batas. Magandang hapon po sa lahat ng ating mga listeners, sa ating mga viewers sa social media. Tayo po ay live hong napapanood sa Facebook Live ng Basta Batas at syempre sa YouTube ho, sa YouTube channel ng Basta Batas at napapakinggan po sa iba't ibang himpilan ng radyo ng Vanguard Radio Network. Ako po si Rico John Ferrer ng 95.9 Big Sound FM Baguio. Magandang hapon po sa lahat ng mga kabatas natin na nakatutok ho sa atin sa mga oras na ito. At pag-uusapan ho natin ngayong hapon ang nalalapit na eleksyon 2023 para ho sa barangay at SK elections. Alam niyo ho, napakarami hong mga nakikita natin na mga tarpaulin, mga posters na kung saan may mga paulit-ulit na tumatakbo bilang barangay officials. Meron din po yung mga bago na gusto rin hong sumabak sa larangan ho ng public service. Kaya naman tayo po dito sa Basta Batas, aalamin ho natin kung ano ho ba ang mga pwede nating malaman para ho sa darating na barangay at SK elections. Mabanggit ko lamang po, ngayong araw na ito, ang COMELEC Baguio ho nag-ikot para ho mag-Oplan Baklas. Dahil di umano ang mga iba ho mga kandidato hindi ho sumunod sa tamang mga paglagay ng mga posters o paglagay ng mga tarpaulin. At ganoon na rin po, may mga oversized di umano na mga posters na kung saan kailangan baklasin. Siyempre, kung nagawa ho nila ito nung national elections, bakit hindi rin nila kayang gawin ngayon pong barangay at SK elections? After how many years, matutuloy na ho sa wakas ang barangay at SK elections. Pero bago ho yan mga kabatas, ito muna, mamigay muna ho tayo ng 160 pesos load sa mga nakikinig ho sa radyo. Alright, so mga nakikinig ho sa radyo, sa iba't ibang himpilan ng Vanguard Radio Network, ito po ang pagkakataon ninyong manalo ng 160 pesos load. Alright, so ito po ang ating katanungan. Kung sakali po, ay i-text nyo po sa amin ang inyong pangalan, address, cellphone number, ang inyong telco na ginagamit. Kasama rin po dyan ang kasagutan sa ating katanungan. Ang ating katanungan, mga kabatas, anong oras ang simula ng botohan sa October 30, 2023? Ulitin ko, anong oras po ang simula ng botohan sa October 30, 2023? Is it letter A, 6 a.m., letter B, 7 a.m., letter C, 8 a.m.? Ulitin ko po, anong oras ang simula ng botohan sa October 30, A, 6 a.m., B, 7 a.m., o C, 8 a.m. I-text na po ang inyong pangalan, address, cellphone number at telco na ginagamit. At kasagutan, A, B, or C, ite-text nyo po yan sa ating Batas o Basta Batas helpline. Yan po ay 0939-431-1244. Kasama na ho natin ngayon ang ating attorney ng bayan, walang iba, kundi ang kapita-pitagan na abogado na dekampanilya, sabi nga po nila, walang iba kundi si Atty. Edward Chico. Magandang hapon sa iyo, Atty. Edward, and nice to see you again.
Ayan, magandang hapon din po. Mula po sa bumubuo po ng Vanguard, sa pangunguna po ng aming presidente, na walang iba kundi si Noel Galvez, si Bruce Mones. Ay, pang-extra pala yun.
Parang nagpapaalam ka na.
Hindi ko, sorry. Nakita ko kasi dito may script yun yung nakalagay. Akala ko naman babasahin kung nakalagay mula sa bumubuo ng Vanguard Radio Network. Magkita-kita po tayo muli sa susunod na Biyernes. Maling script ko.
Mali yung script.
Maling script na nila.
Mali yung script.
Okay, uy, wet look
Akala
ako.
ko
Uy,
babasahin ko.
Magandang
Ano
hapon
yan?
po. Nakaka-camera ba? Angulo ba ako? Magandang hapon po
Ayan,
sa ating mga kabatas. Pasensya na po, wet look ako ngayon dahil nabasa
Sa
ako ng
pawis.
ulan.
Hindi,
Oo.
umuulan
kasi
ba dyan?
kanina
Wag na, attorney.
Nasa-
Congratulations po sa Commission on Human,
Human
Rights.
Rights,
Ongoing ang kanilang seminar.
Ayun.
It's a seminar, Media forum, sorry.
media forum yan kasi 'di ba alam naman natin yung buhay ng mga media persons dito sa Pilipinas ay laging nasa bangad ng alanganin. Kasi napakaraming namatay ng mga journalists na dahil sa kanilang pagiging reporter, 'di ba? Dahil sa kanilang trabaho, sila ay napapaslang. So kaya napakaganda nung inattendan po namin
Pa-ID pa ako.
na parang workshop para mapagpalakas ng pamahalaan at ng sektor mismo ng mga mamamahayag yung ating programa para proteksyonan ang buhay at safety ng ating mga journalists, di ba?
Attorney, may tanong lang ako bago natin ipasok yung ating favorite na isa sa
Naku!
mga favorite guests
yung
sa Basta Batas.
ito nakakatawa yung guest natin na to kasi napakahusay magpaliwanag.
Tsaka
Nararamdaman niya talaga yung pulso ng masa. At tsaka bawat sinasabi niya ay may kabuluhan.
Bawal ang bobo.
Bawal ang bobo.
Pag siya ang kausap mo.
Oo, hindi pwede.
Ang tanong ko lang is, yung bang sa darating na election sa Lunes, ang mga media, yung mga magko-cover ng election na to na makasama natin sa media, ano ba yon? Kung sakasakaling sila merong mali na na-cover, pasok pa sila doon sa sinasabi ng CHR kanina, doon sa napag-usapan kanina na protection against journalists, reporters, is a cyber libel?
Well, actually, yung cyber libel naman, walang nang kaugnayan yan doon sa kung may election or wala.
Kasi baka, dahil yung iba...
Yung cyber libel is a different issue. So, hindi porket mamamahayag ka ay pwede mong sabihin sa ilalim ng batas na as a journalist, I exercise my freedom, my right to freedom of expression. Kaya lang, sadly, of course, a lot of people are saying dapat wala ng cyber libel. But sadly kasi, yung mga libelong pamamahayag ay hindi bahagi ng tinatawag nating protected speech. So, ibig sabihin, kapag may sinabi kang isang bagay na mapanirang puri, yung tawag sa English ay defamatory, tapos pinublish mo yan sa social media, or kaya kagaya natin, may show tayo dito, O kaya halimbawa ay kinilala mo kung sino siya. Natin sa sarili banggitin mo yung pangalan.
Kung
Halimbawa,
identified na
si Robin
identified.
Padilla, imbis na Robin Padilla, sabihin mo, yung dating action star na senador ngayon.
Oo.
O maliban na lang kung ando doon din siyempre si Lito Lapid.
Oo.
O di sabihin mo,
Oo nga, andun.
yung isa laos, yung isa hindi pa. O pwede yun. Diba? So identity na rin yun. Tapos siyempre, ang presumption ng batas, ang motibo mo ay masama, may mali siya
Okay
para
na.
siraan.
Okay na.
Pero linawan ko lang ha, sa mga government officials, sabi ng Korte Suprema, they should not be onion-skinned. So, ibig sabihin, kung ikaw ay mamamahayag, hindi lang mamamahayag, kahit ordinaryo kang mamamayan, hindi dapat maging sensitive yung mga politiko kapag sila ay napupuna, kapag sila ay nababatikos, ano? At may mga batikos, halimbawa, na sobrang general,
Ayan
na
na.
you cannot be held liable. Halimbawa, pag sinabi mo, yung mga politiko, corrupt yan.
Nako ah.
That particular statement in itself is not really libelous. Kasi kahit sabihin mo pa halimbawa na etong presidente natin corrupt yan. So sabi ng Korte
So, hindi
Suprema,
ka maaano doon,
sabi ng Korte Suprema, it's just an expression of opinion. And besides, ang mga politiko ay hindi dapat onion skin.
Ayan na.
Pero the moment sinabi mo, si Senator X, di ba?
Pinangalanan mo.
Now, hindi pinangalanan mo, sinabi mo dahil sinabi mo si Senator X corrupt yan, ayan. So that in itself is not really libelous.
Pero kapag pinangalanan mo siya,
kapag pinangalanan mo talaga, halimbawa, so si Senator Chico si Senator Chico ay corrupt.
hindi yun.
That statement in itself, sabi ng Supreme Court, opinion lang yon. Lalo pat very critical tayo sa mga politiko.
Ayun.
Hindi naman masisira yung kanyang pagkatao pag sinabi mong corrupt siya precisely because, number one, aside from an opinion, that seems to be the general peg ng mga politiko. Magiging libelous siya kapag sinabi mo, halimbawa, yang si Senator Chico, kahapon nahuli ko yan tumanggap ng pera. In-specify mo na may ginawa talaga ako, then it obviously becomes libelous. Alam mo ba, kahit yung pagbumura, ay it would not even qualify under unjust vexation. Halimbawa,
Bakit?
nagmura ka kasi nga, it's an ordinary expression of disgust. So, ano ibig ko sabihin dito? Ang batas naman, binabalanse niya rin as much as possible. Mas gusto ng batas na
Jerwin,
maproteksyonan yung karapatan mo sa kalayaan mo ng pamamahayag. Bakit? Kasi, pag medyo masyado tayong mahigpit dyan, nagkakaroon ng
Kinocurtail mo
takot,
na yung
nagkakaroon ng
freedom of
takot or pangamba yung mga tao na magpahayag, lalo pa pagpatungkol sa mga politiko.
Ano sinasabi? Binubusalan yung bibig.
Binubusalan yung bibig. Like ako, di ba, may mga joke ako halimbawa sa mga politiko, na yun ay joke obvious
lang
na
yun,
joke yun.
mga
Hindi siya
kabatas.
defamatory. Like yung joke ko nga kay Cynthia Villar, di ba? So, lagi ko ang sinasabi,
Ano?
kita mo si Cynthia Villar. Ito, joke. Kasi, as a stand-up comedian, ayaw nga ng asawa ko na ako ay may mga political joke. Sabi niya laging asawa ko, bakit ba lagi mong niloloko yung mga politiko, di ba? Siyempre, sabi ko naman sa asawa ko, ba't hindi ko naman sila lolokohin? Sila nga, niloloko tayo, di ba? And besides, peg lang yan. Halimbawa si Cynthia Villar, aminin mo si Cynthia Villar, si Senator, totoo yan. Ang yaman yan, bilyonary yan, pero pag tinignan mo, mukhang chismos Di ba? Yung itsura niya, parang barkada ni Aling Shoni.
Anyways.
Joke lang yun, di ba? So,
At
ibig
least
sabihin,
malinaw,
that is not
attorney,
libelous per se. Pero the moment you say na pintangan mo siya ng specific allegation, then it becomes now wrong.
Sige.
Kasi gusto ko lang ipaliwanag yaan na ang batas, as much as possible, in case of doubt, mas papaboran niya yung kalayaan ng pamamahayag kesa sa pagbusal nito. Kasi kapag ikaw ay pinipigil at pakaraming restrictions, hindi maganda sa isang demokrasya na merong pangamba or takot ng pagpapahayag.
Okay.
Yan. Pakilala na natin ang ating bisita.
Oo, Rico dyan,
Favorite ko
kasi,
ito.
favorite ito ng Basta
Napakatalino,
Batas.
napakahusay.
Yung mga bobo, tumatabi pag dumadaan
Oo.
siya. Go ahead, Rico dyan, Ferrer. Hindi kita ba... Sandali Naririnig mo si Rico?
Oo, kawa.
Okay.
Nagulat nga ako, hindi mo naririnig. Ikaw
Hindi.
lang ang hindi.
Go ahead, Rico.
hindi,
apologies.
wala kasing headset si Ma'am Jen yata
Nana, go ahead.
Oo nga, wala
Alright.
kang headset, kaya pala.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Oo,
kasama
ano
ko
ba yan?
natin ngayon mga kabatas, ang professor ng University of the Philippines, isa pong journalist at convenor ng Kontra Daya, walang iba kundi aming suki, mula po sa UP Diliman, bulatlat at kontradaya, ang kasama ho natin ngayon, si Professor Danilo Araw. Magandang hapon po, Prof. Danilo Araw, welcome back to
Ayan.
Basta Batas. Namiss ho namin kayo.
Ah.
Hindi natin
Wala
Hindi
na
natin
lang
yan
audio si ano.
Sabay,
Walang
alam mo,
audio.
Prof.
Sorry po,
Danilo.
narinig
Ayan.
po ba?
Ayan, opo.
Ayan, okay.
Sir, balak sana namin
Yes, po.
mag-produce ng show. Ikaw ang bida, syempre.
Aha,
Ang
ano,
pangalan ng show ay May Araw Ka Rin.
Uy, baka yun, ah.
Pwede.
Maganda, maganda. Magandang idea.
Aba, nagustuhan ng
Maganda,
professor.
may araw ka rin. Hindi ba?
Sir, ladies first. Unang-una sa lahat,
Diretso na tayo.
welcome back
Oo.
sa Basta Batas. Maraming
Ating
salamat.
favorite.
Oo, favorite ko yan. Kasi ano wala
Favorite-
siyang keme
Favorite
talaga.
ko si Sir, walang keme, he speaks his mind. And he's
Oo.
very smart and brilliant.
Yan po mga kabatas.
kailangan natin
Ganyang
yung mga
klaseng
ganyang,
tao ang
ano.
kailangan natin mga kabatas. Kung gusto nyong umayos sa
Oo
kamunlad
nga.
ng Pilipinas.
Dapat
hindi
yung mga
lang
politiko
keme.
na lang kagaya ni Professor Danilo Araw.
Hindi
O
siya
mga-
politiko.
Kung yun nga sayang kung mga senador natin kagaya niya.
Oo nga.
Kasi
May
eto,
napala tayo.
share ko lang, may isang senador, eto na.
Eto, ano, latest?
Ako ay isa sa mga naimbitahan.
Oh my gosh.
Para maging resource person.
Huwag mo pangalanan,
diba?
ah.
Hindi natin papangalanan, baka mademanda tayo. Kung hindi
Yari
man
tayo
live
dyan.
ito, baka diretsong ipasara ang prangkisa natin. Ito, Professor Danilo Araw, ganito na. Ito ay public hearing. Di ba normally pag public hearing, ang trabaho ng senador ay magtanong ka ng mga probing questions para ma-vet mo yung proposed measure. At the same time, makita mo yung mga areas na dapat i-improve pa,
Oo.
mga areas na dapat tanggalin, or mga areas na dapat mong i-introduce. Kasi that's how you vet, di ba? Diyan mo sinusuri, iniimbestigahan. Eto na, itong senador na ito. Oh, meron ba tayo ditong representative dito sa Mowel Fund, kunwari. Hindi nagsalita yung Mowel Fund. Pagkatapos magsalita ng Mowel Fund, hindi na siya nagtatanong, sabi niya, alam mo, nakakatawang isipin may opinion ng Mowel Fund, makakatulong sa atin yan. Oh, meron ba dito sa KBP? Di nagbigay din ang KBP. O nakakatuwa ang opinion ninyo So kahit iba-iba yung opinion namin, kahit mag-away kami, hindi siya nagtatanong, sabi niya lang, buti nagbigay kayo ng opinion. O di kala namin magtatanong na. Pagkatapos ang sabi niya, ganito gagawin natin. Wala na tayong hearing. TWG na tayo next Okay yung mga opinion niya.
Didiretso na.
Oo. Prof, may tanong lang ako Hindi ba, anong pakiramdam mo pag may mga ganyan senador na binoto natin?
Siya nga.
Tapos parang lugi tayo. Parang hindi naman nagtatrabaho bilang senador. Ano bang
Diretsuhin mo
dapat
na.
ng kagaya
Siya
mo
nga.
sa ganyan?
Oh.
Ito nga, gaya ng sinabi ni Jen, nakakadismaya, di ba? Nakakadisappoint. Kaya nga dapat gamitin natin yung kapangyarihan ng balota para
Ayun.
piliin yung matitino.
Mm.
Kaya sa darating na barangay and SK elections, mainam na seryosohin natin ito. Kasi we have 92 million voters, of which sila ay pipili ng 7 mga opisyal ng barangay at 7 taga-sangguniang kabataan naman. Kung sila ay nasa voting age for sangguniang kabataan. Siyempre tayong lahat hindi na pwede sa SK. Kaya sa barangay tayo pipili talaga.
Correct. Prof, yung reaction nyo na finally sa wakas natuloy na tong linchak na paulit-ulit na ilang beses nang na-delay na election. Anong naging reaction mo dyan?
Siyempre, nandyan yung relief kasi ang huling barangay and SK elections, as you all know, noon pang 2018.
Tagal na.
Anong taon na ngayon?
Correct.
Matagal na. So, 5 taon yung lumipas. Ang dapat na sa election cycle, every 3 years lang. Yung botohan. Kaya, ngayon, ang sitwasyon, dahil na rin sa desisyon ng Korte Suprema, for sure, alam ni na attorney ito, yung dapat na 3 years, kasi ngayon 2023, ang plano sana 2026 para bigyan ng pagkakataong makapagsilbi ng 3 years para hindi masira yung normal election cycle na sinumulan dun sa ating Barangay and SK Elections Act hanggang 2025 lang sila. So medyo na short change dahil sa mga sirkumstansya ng tuloy-tuloy na pagdidelay. At alam mo, Jen, this is a reflection na as far as some of our government officials are concerned, wala talaga silang masyadong pakialam o hindi nila masyadong siniseryoso yung barangay and SK. That's why they can afford na i-delay ito ng i-delay. Kung matatandaan mo, meron pa ng ilang mga kongresista na nagsasabi na dapat i-delay itong gagawing barangay and SK
Meron nga.
elections for various reasons. Huwag na nating pangalanan, baka malibel tayo gaya sila ni Atty. Di
Oo
ba?
nga po.
Pero alam niyo yun, kilala na natin yun kung sino sila.
Pero Prof, sino ba yung nalulugi pagdating sa kasi sabi nila barangay elections lang naman yan, okay lang, I mean no big deal, hindi siya kagaya ng national elections, 'di ba? Pero would you agree na yung sinasabi ng iba na diyan nga mas matindi ang corruption at saka ang dayaan kasi diyan what's your reaction on that?
Tama ka. Kasi interest ito ng mga mayaman at makapangyarihan. Naghahanda na, whether we believe it or not, naghahanda na sila para sa 2025 at maging sa 2028. At kailangan nilang protektahan yung voter base nila para sa mga current incumbent officials. At para naman sa mga nag-aambisyong palitan yung mga incumbent, dapat as early as now, nagbubuo na sila ng kanilang voter base. At crucial dito, yung mga opisyal at yung mga kagawad sa level ng sangguniang kabataan at barangay. Kaya yung usapin ng corruption, talagang nariyan at nariyan yan. Kasi kumikita yung mga nasa posisyon, kung gugustuhin nila, hindi lang mula dun sa subsidy na nakukuha nila sa kanilang panunungkulan bilang public official, kundi yung mga lagay at yung mga under the table and wheeling and dealing ways ng ruling elite at ng mga malalaking political party lalo na. Kaya nandun yung interest dapat natin na dapat yung mga community leaders natin talagang nagsisilbi sa mamamayan, hindi nagsisilbi dun sa iba't ibang mga political na interest ng mga distrito.
Right.
No. Professor, tanong ko lang, ano ba talaga mabisang pangontra laban sa korupsyon? Kung hanggang sa kumbaga sa aswang bawang at sibuyas, pwede mo nang gawing adobo. Pero sa grassroots level ng barangay, dito raw nag-uumpisa yung korupsyon. Ano ba talaga ang panglaban natin sa korupsyon, lalong-lalo na sa grassroots level?
Sige, napag-uusapan na rin lang yung mga manananggal at yung mga pampira. Siyempre, kumbaga liwanag ng pangontra natin dyan. And how do you shed light on the truth? Ito ay yung pag-i-expose talaga ng mga wrongdoing, may susing papel yung media rito. At syempre, yung mga ordinaryong mamamayan, dapat patuloy tayong nagiging mapagmatyag at patuloy nating tinitingnan yung mga yung mga masasamang gawe ng mga nasa kapangyarihan. At syempre, yung call for democratic governance, for transparency, for accountability. Kaya nga kahit yung simpleng freedom of information na mga panukala na dapat maisabatas yan Hindi lang yan dapat simpleng executive order lang kasi we need transparency in all levels of governance. At kasama na rito yung barangay at SK. Halimbawa, kung sa simbahan, nagde-demand tayo kung magkano ba at yung mga nakokolekta bawat linggo, dapat ganun din sa barangay at saka sa SK, dapat may malinaw na accounting of expenses.
Oo nga.
Professor, ang sabi ho nung karamihan, tinatanong nila, saan ba talaga problema? Sa mga botante ba na bobo sa pagboto o dahil ho sa wala silang pakialam dahil ito na naman sila.
Wala na kaming
mangungurap
choice.
at mangungurap din yan. Saan ho ba nanggagaling ito, sir?
Alam mo, sa bahagi ng kontradaya, hindi kami naniniwala na bobo yung mga botante. Kumbaga, lang yan nawawalan ng interest yung maraming tao dahil na rin sa umiiral na sistema. Kaya the problem is more systemic than attitudinal or individual. So merong sistemang umiiral ngayon na talagang nakaka-disillusion, nakakadismaya, nakaka-disappoint. At dito, dapat na malinaw sana yung ating voter education program para nagkakapagbigay linaw tayo, hindi lang sa mga botante, kundi may stern reminder din tayo sa mga mayaman at makapangyarihan na hindi nila dapat ginagawa itong mga panggagamit nila at yung pag-weaponize ng ilang mga local mechanisms like the barangay and the sangguniang kabataan para sa kanilang pansariling interes. Kasi yung batayang tanong dito, para kanino ba yung mga halalang ito? Bakit ba ginagawa ito? Kaya minsan yung element of disillusion and disappointment and even disenfranchisement naroon. Kaya dapat yung electoral reforms, kumbaga multi-layered yan we expose the wrongdoings, but at the same time, we push for the necessary electoral reforms.
Professor Danny, ang pagsisilbi ba simulan natin sa barangay, ang pagsisilbi ba sa barangay or sa taong bayan, has it become a public service talaga or private enterprise?
Magandang tanong yan. Actually, to some extent, may element naman ng private service. May nagagawa naman yung mga barangay in terms of resolving, halimbawa, yung mga disputes sa community o kaya yung pagproseso ng ilang mga requirements para sa barangay ID, para sa barangay healthcare at iba pa. Kaya lang, depende yan sa mga nakaupo sa pwesto. Hindi mo maaasahan yan dun sa more than 42,000 na mga barangay na homogeneously nakakapag-provide talaga ng necessary services. Kasi, I'm sorry to say, may mga nagagamit talaga yung mga nasa kapangyarihan para hindi lang talaga i-win over yung mga barangay officials. Minsan pag hindi nila ma-win over, hinaharas at ini-intimidate nila. And I'm sorry to say, minsan pinapatay pa. Kaya nga yung mga election-related violence, parang nanon-normalize na rin yan even at the barangay level.
Oo nga, Prof.
Prof,
Tama.
yung mga nakaupo ngayon na mga incumbent na mga opisyalis ng bawat lungsod, munisipalidad, it seems to be that they are trying to use the barangay and SK elections to their advantage. When I don't know kung totoo na parang gumagawa na sila ng sarili nilang galamay na susuportahan kita sa eleksyon na ito pero alam mo na ang gagawin mo kapag ako humingi sa iyo. What can you say about this?
Okay, magandang punto yan. Yung horse trading talagang normal yan sa realm ng tinatawag nating patronage politics. Kumbaga, I scratch your back at you scratch mine. Minsan yung mga nananalong kagawad o barangay captain, parang tuntungan nila yan para maging konsehal sa city level or municipal level, tapos magme-mayor, tapos pag suswertehin, magiging senador, baka maging vice president pa o president. So kumbaga tuloy-tuloy yan. So may mga ganong tendensya talaga. At saka tama ka, yung ginagawa ng iba talagang dynastic yung yung approach. Minsan kasi ngayon may mga lusot dun sa halimbawa alam niyo naman may anti-dynasty provision dun sa SK level.
Provision.
Apo. Yes, may anti-dynasty provision.
Yes.
So yun yung minsan nalulusutan yon kasi ang gagawin ng iba parang sabay sila natatakbo. So hindi pa incumbent yung kamag-anak. Pero once they're there, edi sila lang yung magpapatakbo at gagawin nila yung lahat para mapanatili nila yung kanilang hold sa posisyon at doon pumapasok Jen at iba pa yung yung willing and dealing and vote buying at saka yung vote selling din. So yun yung kaya mapapansin nyo yung issue ng vote buying na nangyayari dun sa midterm and presidential elections, yun pa rin ang burning issue ngayon. Bakit? For the simple reason na crucial para sa mga mayaman at makapangyarihan yung mga mauupo sa pagkakataong ito.
Professor, paano natin masusolusyonan? Kung systemic yung problema natin, sabi nga ni Atty. Chico, parte na ng kultura natin yung corruption. Ako kasi, personally, mga kabatas, I still do not want to accept na part talaga siya ng kultura, kahit na, well, obviously, it is, right? Diba? Deep inside me, gusto kong sabihin na, at i-convince pa rin yung sarili ko na may pag-asa, pwede pa natin siyang masolusyonan. But as years go by, parang pahirap siya ng pahirap, Professor. Kasi pag pag nag-report ka ng corruption, ang katapat mo isang bala. Case in point, si Persilapi, di ba? And among others. Pag gusto mo namang maging maayos na politiko, magsilbi ng maayos ng tapat sa publiko, sinisira ka, pinapatay ka din. So, paano natin sisimulan ang solution to the road to eradicating corruption, if not eradicate completely, yung a good percentage mabawasan?
Okay, magandang punto yan. Kasi tama ka, hindi naman yan talaga nasa kultura ng lahat ng Pilipino. Let's be more nuanced. nasa kultura ng mayaman at makapangyarihan yung normalization ng ganitong mga bagay na hindi katanggap-tanggap. Kasi sa totoo lang, wala naman sa kultura ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino o yung mga mahihirap na katulad natin ngayon na talagang pumapatay, nagvo-vote buying, o yung iba man na napipilitang ibenta yung kanilang boto, ito ay dahil sa kagipitan. Kaya mahirap manghusga sa mga nagigipit at kailangan talaga ng pera, halimbawa. Pero tama ka, yung sistema talaga ay hindi katanggap-tanggap. Sabi nga ng mga aktivista, 'di ba, bulok na raw yung sistema ng lipunan at ano ang gagawin sa isang bulok na sistema? Syempre, dapat unti-unti na pinapalitan ito, pero malinaw sa mga tao, sa mga katulad nating lahat na bakit siya dapat palitan at kahit na dapat palitan siya, syempre may mga masasagasaang interes pero ito ay interes ng mga mayaman at makapangyarihan. Pero paano ba yung proseso ng pagpapalit? Syempre, we go through the arduous process of electoral reforms. Yung anti-dynasty law na yan, panahon pa ni Cory Aquino, nandiyan na yan, pero dapat maipasa na yan, di ba?
Inuugat na tayo, Professor, wala pa rin.
Oo nga Tapos, yung sa usapin ng election expenses, we need more transparency there. Kasi alam nyo naman yung batas, di ba? After 30 days pa magsasubmit ng statement of yung SOSE. Pero, minsan parang hindi na nado-double check ito. Isipin mo naman, more than 600,000 ang ine-expect mo magsasubmit ng ganong form. Paano siya mado-double check lahat, di ba? So, dapat sorry, go ahead.
Professor, anong suggestion mo tungkol dyan, particularly? Kailangan maging high-tech ba tayo? Mas maging high-tech ba? Anong solution mo, anong suggestion mo dyan?
Yes, I was going to that. Ang suggestion natin dito, Jen, simple lang Dapat, as early as the start of the campaign period, malinaw na, as early as the start of the filing of candidacy pa lang ng mga kandidato, malinaw na kung ano yung ginagastos nila, dapat i-require silang i-upload sa website. Halimbawa, yung expenses complete with proper documentation. Kung kailangan i-upload yung resibo, i-upload rin natin sana lahat para alam natin sino yung nagpo-contribute, tukoy kung sino yung contributor at kung ano ginagastos yung mga contribution na to. Kasi alam mo, Jen, yung isa pang anggulo sa expenses, minsan, kahit yung kandidato alam niyang matatalo na, pero panay pa rin yung solicit niya ng pera para makapag-ipon. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh!
Kaya alam mo, Jen, at the end of elections, kumbaga minsan yung natalo, tuwang-tuwang ka kasi nakapagpatayo ng mansyon, may bahay, may sasakyan, di ba? Kumbaga nakapagpundar siya. Kaya yun yung isa pang anggulo na dapat din talagang tinitignan natin. Kasi yung usapin ng SOSE, parang parang pro forma na lang na sinasubmit, hindi naman to be fair to the COMELEC, may nado-double check naman sila at may nahuhuli rin naman at may mga nadi-disqualify. Pero you don't expect 100% monitoring and more efficient monitoring. So dapat mas transparent yung proseso natin para sa simula pa lang ng campaign period and even before the elections, alam natin kung sino na yung nag-overspend at kung sino yung kumukuha ng sobra-sobra. And of course, the other angle that also needs to be highlighted is sino-sino yung nasa likod ng kandidato.
Wow.
Literally, na nasa likod nila.
Good luck with that.
Okay.
Alam na sasabihin nila. Alam na
Attorney Edward Chico, what say you?
Kaya
may tatanong lang kay Prof. May tatanong lang kay Prof. Sandali. Prof, ang labanan ngayon nasa social media na. Ano ang pwedeng i-advise ng nating mga nakakaalam dito sa sitwasyon natin ngayon sa mga ordinaryong Pilipino na nandun sa social media at doon nalalaman lahat kung anong mga nandun para sa barangay at SK elections?
Siyempre, dapat critical nating turiin yung nilalaman ng mga social media posts nila. Alam mo yung fact-checking, Jen, Rico, at attorney. Yung talagang essence ng fact-checking, hindi lang naman mga periodista gumagawa niyan. Kahit ordinaryong mamamayan kaya mag-fact-check. Kaya sana kung may mali, dapat i-point out natin at i-call out natin yung kamalian yun. Gaya ng binanggit nga ni Atty. Chico kanina, talagang hindi hindi naman libelous kung sasabihin mong mali itong ginawa mo. Kumbaga huwag tayong matakot doon. Tsaka may mga abogado namang tutulong sa atin in that regard.
Yeah, actually yan ang aming isa sa mga advocacies ng Basta Batas at professors. Really i-educate yung ating mga kabatas at saka i-empower para nang sa ganon, kung alam mo naman yung karapatan mo, 'di ba? Hindi ka basta-basta ma-intimidate na mga mapagsamantalang individual. And then at the same time, hindi ka aasa na lang na para kang parasite at sila pinapataba mo, hindi ba? Alam mo, ma-share ko lang bago ko ibigay kay Atty. Chico. Ngayong bago mag-eleksyon mga kabatas, ini-encourage ko kayo, hanapin nyo sa YouTube or kung meron kayong subscription kung saan mga streaming app, hanapin nyo yung pelikula na A Bug's Life. Tapos i-forward nyo sa bandang huli yung scene na yung isang langgam, nag-stand up siya against dun sa kay Hopper, yung sa grasshopper. Tapos sinabi niya na, actually, alam mo, hello, kami kaya ang kailangan mo, no? Hindi ka namin kailangan kung tutuusin. Tapos lahat sila, nagkapik-bisig. So,
paborito
diba?
ng anak ko yan.
Diba, Prof?
Yung A Bug's Life.
Because it encapsulates, actually it explains yung politics natin in general ngayon, yung nararanasan natin, na actually kung may empowered malalaman ng mga kabatas natin na nasa atin yung power to really change, really make a difference sa buhay natin mga Pilipino, sa power ng balota mangyayari at mangyayari. Okay, Atty. Edward Chico, the floor is all yours.
Siguro sir, ang magandang pag-usapan dito, no? May pag-asa pa ba tayo? Kasi parang systemic yung problema. For the longest time, parang, we've been stuck in the same situation. So kung may pag-asa pa, ano ang magiging papel ng mga sektor na mayroong pakialam at saka yung sektor na alam yung katotohanan sa hindi, halimbawa, para mabago yung ganitong paradigm or worldview ng mga Pilipino?
May kasabihan tayo, habang may buhay, may pag-asa, at habang buhay pa at may mga matitinong mga katulad ninyo na, halimbawa, komedyante na nagsasalita tungkol sa mga social issue, okay yan. Kasi, siya ba yun? Ayun. Pero yun yung punto dito.
Prof, siya yun. Ganda niyang show niya.
Tama. Kasi nga yung halimbawa, kung slapstick comedy lang ginagawa mo, parang binabatukan mo lang yung bawat isa, parang walang masyadong relevance yun. Pero halimbawa, sa media, may mga media, not all media organizations are created equal. Maging prangka tayo rito. May mga nangre-redtag, may mga nang-iintriga, may mga puro chismisan lang. Pero pagka may mga ganitong diskusyon na napapataas yung antas ng diskurso, minsan kung tayo hindi pagkakaintindihan, talagang magdedebate talaga tayo on air, pero at the end of the day, we will still be friends. So pagka may ganong level of maturity, yung mga broadcaster, yung mga media practitioner, at yung iba pang mga sources of information, then we will definitely have a fighting chance. At saka sa Kongreso, sorry, go ahead.
Sir, gusto ko lang, ituloy niyo po muna kasi nabanggit niyo po yung Kongreso.
Kasi nabanggit na rin lang yung Kongreso na, kumbaga, marami talaga roon, talagang mahirap, parang panira ng araw, kumbaga. Pero hanggat may mga matitino na mga kongresista na nagsusulong na mga makataong mga polisiya at mga panukala, kahit na sila ay nasa minorya, kumbaga nandun pa rin yung pag-asa. And I think one of the reasons bakit yung mga nasa minorya na matitino hindi nadidisillusion, hindi nadidisappoint kahit pa natin silang talo sa botohan, dahil na rin sa suporta ng malawak na mamamayan at alam nila kung ano yung tama talaga. At hanggat may mga taong ganon, may sistema na masasabi natin hindi katanggap-tanggap, pero may counter position naman tayo parate, naroon yung pag-asa natin.
Sir, bilang isang mamamahayag na kagaya mo, professor rin ng journalism, and at the same time political analyst to a certain extent, sir, do you think is it really about time na certain kumbaga elective posts should require more than ability to read and write? Kasi laging problema natin sa Kongreso yan, na unang-una, no? Unang-una may mga nahahalal doon na sa tingin ko hindi nga marunong magbasa. Kung marunong man magbasa, hindi marunong umintindi.
Oh my
Di ba? That is it really high time. Because I remember, laging sinasabi ni Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago nung buhay pa siya, na if she would have her way, dapat daw yung mga tumatakbong kongresista, tumatakbong mga senador, dapat may alaman lang sa batas. Hindi naman ba pwede na pinabili lang ng suka dahil sumikat ay mahahalal. Ano sa tingin nyo, Prof?
Ang problema kasi dyan, Attorney Edward, ang nangyayari ngayon, hindi accessible yung edukasyon, kaya sino lang yung magpo-qualify. Kasi batay na rin sa datos ng CHED, hindi naman mayorya ng kabataan natin nakakatuntong sa kolehiyo. Una yon. Pangalawa, kahit na graduate ka ng kolehiyo, and you know this for a fact, minsan abogado na't lahat, hindi pa rin alam may mga abogado hindi alam ang batas,
May
diba?
kilala po
So,
kayo?
what do you do?
Like, pangalanan.
Pangalanan po natin.
Mataba po ba to? Maliit?
Natanggal na po ba siya ng Supreme Court? Ano ba? Ito po ba?
Ina-point siya, di ba? Ina-point, di ba? Anyway.
Kayo,
Kilala ni Edward, kaibigan mo yan, di ba?
Ay, hindi ko po siya kaibigan, pero ang maganda niyan, alam mo ba, yung sabi ng Supreme Court sa usapin ng identity, pagdating sa libelo, kahit hindi mo banggitin yung pangalan, pero pag alam ng mga nakinig, kung sino yung pinapatungkulan,
buti na lang hindi nila
alam na.
alam.
Buti na lang hindi nila alam.
Buti na mga kabatas hindi nyo alam.
Pero balikan natin yung,
sige
sorry
po.
pwedeng balikan ko lang yung,
Sige
yung
po.
punto bago. Kasi alam mo, may mga abogado, ulitin natin, seryoso to, kahit sila hindi alam yung batas.
Tama, tama.
Kaya yung usapin talaga ng pagpili, dapat maging inclusive tayo. So the
Yun,
ability to read and write, in general terms, okay naman. Age requirement, I guess, age requirement is
Tama
acceptable to some extent then. Kaya nga minsan may question din ako, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Edward, kasi sa SK, in order to be qualified, you should be able to speak parang Filipino, English, or any local dialect. Pero kapag ka barangay naman, walang kasamang English, Filipino, or any local dialect. So yung mga yun yung dapat nating hinihimay. Bakit kasama sa English?
Talaga?
Bakit kasama yung English doon sa sa SK level pero not required sa iba
barangay.
pa. Pero kung tatanungin mo yung opinion ko, English should not be a requirement kasi
Tama,
tayo
Tama,
naman ay
kasi
nasa Pilipinas.
Correct.
Oo. At dapat yun yung mas wika na pinopromote natin at
I
yung
agree
komunikasyon na
with
ginagamit natin.
the good professor.
And besides, sabi ng Korte Suprema, kaya ang requirement ng pagtakbo ay abilidad lamang na magbasa at magsulat because we would want, of course, to democratize access to government.
There you
Yes.
go.
So that lahat ng tao, nakapag-aral ka man o hindi, basta meron kang kakayanan, malinis ka, may passion ka. Huling tanong na lang, Prof, mabilis lang ito, no? Maraming bumabati ko sa limbawa sa posisyon ng sangguniang kabataan. Laging sinasabi nila, nagpapagamit lang din naman yan sa mga traditional politicians. Nagiging training ground pa, no? Para sila ay maging tiwali at some point. So dapat ba talaga tanggalin na natin itong SK at tawag na natin silang ihalal? Ano sa tingin niyo po?
Alam mo, magandang tanong yan. Dapat palitan na siguro kasi yun yung nagiging diskurso. Kaya lang, ang matatalo dyan ay yung kabataan. Paano yung representasyon nila sa barangay level? Kasi at the barangay level, if I understand it correctly, ang age requirement 18 and above, di ba?
Yes.
Para makatakbo sa barangay. Yan, para tumakbo sa SK, parang lower, di ba?
Pagkakataon nga naman nila. To
So
be represented.
So yung proper representation, yun yung problematic. At saka, kung ang problema nagiging tiwali sila, ang problema ay hindi yung mismong organisasyon, kundi yung sistema o yung kalakaran na nagbubunsod rito. Para na rin kasi natin tinanong, ano ba ang kaibahan ng kabataang barangay noong unang panahon dun sa sangkuniang kabataan sa kasalukuyang konteksto, di ba? So nagpalit lang ng pangalan, pero yung esensya, ang objective niyan ay dapat na may representation at hindi dapat ginagamit o wine-weaponize against anybody.
I so agree.
Kaya nga kung usapin din lang ng youth, dapat suriin din natin. Hindi naman siguro to libelous. May papangalanan akong government instrumentality. It's called the National Youth Commission.
Yeah,
So
NYC.
yung NYC, for the longest time, nagsisilbi yan sa kabataan. Pero ngayon, dahil sa iba yung orientasyon ng NYC, ano yung priority nila? Mandatory ROTC, tapos yung black propaganda against certain youth groups na nire-red-tag nila. So, minsan itatanungin mo, ito ba yung mandato talaga dapat at yung dapat na direksyon ng mga grupong
Tama, oo.
dapat na nagpapaunlad ng youth development and youth training.
'Di ba sabi ko sa inyo mga kabatas, bawal pagka dumadaan si Professor Araw Danny Araw bawal ang mga bobo.
Oo.
So now you know.
Alam niyo na kung
Tumatabi sila.
Oo.
Uy, andyan na yung si Prof. Alis na tayo.
hindi pa pwede.
I know,
Ano ba
right?
yan?
Uy, Toyang, ang ganda ng ng comment mo.
Yes.
Oo.
Ang sabi po ni Toyang, I agree with you, Prof. And if we ever need to criticize or call out somebody, it must be constructive and not mean.
Tama.
Avoid
Yes,
ad hominem. Observe proper etiquette in expressing our sentiments.
Tama naman. Oo.
Correct.
Tama.
Bago ko bitawan si Professor Araw, may tanong ako ngayon. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin niya nasasagot.
Ano
Prof,
yun?
Okay.
nasa na yung
T-shirt namin. Nakasal yung t-shirt.
Di ba siya na yung,
Napakaganda si
gusto
Prof.
ko yung
Napakaganda.
siya na yung humamak dito sa
Panglimang guesting mo na ito.
kontradaya.
Ting ikaw ay guest dito,
Election.
mga ngako ka na darating ang
Tapos sa
t-shirt.
pambira.
Anong
Ano ba
petsa na?
naman?
Anong
Oo nga
petsa
pala,
na,
Bro.
Tapos
Prof?
na yung 2023, ano ba?
Oo.
Maraming salamat. At sana mga kabatas, ito nga maikli naming diskusyon tungkol sa darating na election ngayong Monday, October 30. Nagkaroon po ng konting pagmumulat kung sino nga ba, leader o trapo ang inyong iboboto, alin dyan ang kandidato mo. So, I hope it helps you dissect kung sino yung
Sir.
karapat-dapat.
May nagpapatanong po
Apa.
dito, ang sabi daw po, dahil magaling daw po kayo. Payag daw po ba kayo na ma-appoint sa gobyerno para makatulong po kayo?
Hindi.
Ayan. Malinaw, hindi.
No, because he helps
Oo.
even without being
Mas maganda
part
na
of
wala
the
nga dapat si
government.
Professor Araw sa pamahalaan.
Para meron nagkikriticize, para i-balance,
Oo,
di ba?
may
Para
balanse.
nagko-call ng attention. Professor
Sa yung
Danilo
t-shirt namin, ha?
Araw, ang t-shirt po namin sa small.
Alam mo, sir, sisiraan ka namin agad hindi mo binibigyan. Sabihin namin,
Okay lang.
walang kredibilidad si Professor Araw. Yung t-shirt, wala.
Hindi, joke lang.
Joke lang po.
Oo,
Yung sa
ay, sir,
t-shirt.
Okay lang, okay.
sa January, nood ka ng show
Maraming
ni
salamat
Atty.
po, Prof.
Edward Chico.
Maraming
Yes,
salamat
of
po sa
course.
pagpapaunlak. Napakalaking bagay na nakakausap natin yung gaya ni Professor
Matatalinong-
Araw kasi napapaliwanag natin
Correct.
doon sa taong bayan kung ano yung mga pamantayan dapat
Yan si Professor
maging silbing
Danny.
gabay, di ba?
Professor Danny Araw sa UP Diliman, sa UP sa College of Journalism, di ba?
College of
Prof.
Mass Communication.
Correct.
College of Mass Communication. Thank you.
Kontradaya convener. Yan mga kabatas, para po yan sa paalala this coming October 30, Monday. Uy, bumoto ka, attorney
Oo naman.
O, ikaw Rico dyan, bumoto ka din Thank you, Prof.
Salamat po.
Automatic.
Prof.
Thank you,
so
Prof.
much.
Bumoto kayo tapos i-assess nyo kung sino yung binoto nyo, kung ito ba ay leader o trapo. Okay.
Si
Share nyo
Meron
sa
ako
amin.
isang hindi boboto
Si Pempe ba yun? Pepe?
Uy,
Yung
oo.
Pepe.
Ay, bawal
Yung
ang
may
Uy,
mga...
bumalik yata yun.
Attorney, may question nga ako sa'yo. Pwede bang ireklamo yung mga tarpaulin, yung mga kandidato na ang ginagamit sa kanilang tarpaulin, yung picture nila nung college pa sila. Di ba, Rico, dyan? Ang bata nung nasa tarpaulin, pero pagdating sa personal, nyak! Diyos ko, day, bakit ganon? Di ba,
Hindi, pero-
panlilin lang yun?
Meron ding mga tarpaulin na sana inayos ng mga gumawa, no? Kasi meron mga nakikita kong tarpaulin na parang last night na nang lamay yung itsura. Yung isa naman parang missing. Nawawala yung itsura, no?
dapat
Missing
ayusin din.
missing
Bakit
person.
ka-
Pero yung iba
Pwede ba
naman,
kasuhan
yung
yung
iba
mga-
naman nagpi-filter naman ng sobra
Oo.
o kaya nagpo-photo lab.
Oo.
Wag naman ganun, hindi ba kasi mapandin lang eh.
Oo nga. Uy,
Merong tumatakbo sa may amin. Pag nakita mo doon sa kanyang poster, boto mo eh.
Bakit?
Ang pogi eh.
Pogi.
Kaso
Pogi.
pag nakita mo sa personal,
Tapos na si Professor Danny,
nasisisi ka.
bulatlat. Journalist siya sa bulatlat.
Correct.
At saka kontradaya convener. Oy, sabi ni Clarence, wow, ang ganda ng vlog mo. Hindi to vlog, show to.
Opo. Show po ito.
Sabi
Opo.
ni Miss
Pero maraming
Evangeline,
salamat.
is watching daw siya Friday afternoon po to all. Happy
Yes.
Friday afternoon to all. Alam niyo mga
Alright.
kabatas, go ahead, Rico
Ito
dyan.
muna. Ito muna. Baka nakakalimutan na ng mga kabatas natin yung ating question para ho sa mga nakikinig sa kanilang mga radyo, ano? Ang ating tanong, eto po, anong oras ang simula ng botohan sa October 30, 2023 o Monday para sa Barangay at SK elections ito ha? Anong oras ang simula ng botohan sa October 30, 2023? Is it letter A, 6 a.m., letter B, 7 a.m. o letter C, 8 a.m.? Yan, anong oras ang simula ng botohan sa October 30, 2023? 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. I-text nyo po ang inyong pangalan, address, cellphone number, telco na inyong ginagamit. At ika-10 texter na may tamang kasagutan mananalo po ng 160 pesos load. I-text nyo po yan sa ating Basta Batas text line 0939-431-1244. Mga kabatas, ito, hanggang kailan ho ba magtitiis ang kabatas nating pinipigang magsustento sa anak kahit hiwalay na sila ng asawa? That's up next mga kabatas. Dito lamang po sa inyo ang Basta Batas.
Tutok lang sa Basta Batas at sama-sama nating hanapan ng lunas, hindi butas, ang batas. Sundan ang Basta Batas sa Facebook at YouTube. Sundan ang Basta Batas sa Facebook at YouTube o mag-text sa 0939-431-1244. Sundan ang Basta Batas sa bago nitong time slot tuwing Biyernes. Ang Basta Batas ay mapapakinggan sa mga piling himpilan ng Big Sound FM at Big Radio, 1188 DZXO AM at 3095 DWMG AM. Mapapanood din kami sa Facebook at YouTube channels.
Alam mo ba na hindi kwalipikadong tumakbo para sa sangguniang kabataan ang sinumang may kamag-anak hanggang sa second civil degree of consanguinity or affinity na kasalukuyang nanunungkulan na nahalal na opisyal ng bansa o ng rehiyon o ng probinsya, lungsod, munisipalidad o barangay sa lokalidad kung saan nais mahalal. Para sa tamang detalye at karagdagang impormasyon, pumunta sa COMELEC Facebook, YouTube at Twitter accounts o bumisita sa www.comelec.gov.ph.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Mga kabatas, you're tuned in on Basta Batas, heard on radio, seen on Facebook and YouTube. Proud founding member of the Kapisanan ng mga Broadcaster ng Pilipinas o KBP at live ho tayo sa mga sumusunod na Vanguard Radio Network stations.
1188 DZXO AM, Cabanatuan City, Nueva Ecija. 95.9 Big Sound FM, Baguio City. 95.3 Big Sound FM, Kawayan City, Isabela. 100.5 Big Sound FM, Tuguegarao City, Cagayan. 105.5 Big Sound FM, San Fernando City, La Union. 101.3 Big Sound FM, Solano, Nueva Vizcaya. 88.7 Big Radio, Tagbilaran City, Bohol. 107.7 Big Radio, Bungabong, Oriental, Mindoro, and 1395 DWMG AM, Solano, Nueva Vizcaya.
Alam mo ba na para makatakbo ka sa sangguniang kabataang elections ay kailangang ipinanganak ka mula October 30, 1999 hanggang October 30, 2005. At para makatakbo ka naman sa barangay elections, kailangang ipinanganak ka mula October 30, 1999. Para sa tamang detalye at karagdagang impormasyon, pumunta sa COMELEC Facebook, YouTube at Twitter accounts o bumisita sa www.comelec.gov.ph.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Alright mga kabatas, ito muna sa mga nanonood naman po sa atin sa social media, sa Facebook Live at saka sa YouTube. Ito ho ang pagkakataon ninyong manalo ng 160 pesos load. Ang kailangan nyo lamang pong gawin ay i-hashtag po ang inyong kasagutan sa ating pong katanungan. Ang ating katanungan po para sa inyo sa mga nanonood sa social media, anong oras naman ang tapos ng botohan sa October 30, 2023? Kung kanina yung umpisa, anong oras naman po ang pagtatapos ng botohan sa October 30, 2023? Is it hashtag Basta Batas 3 p.m., hashtag Basta Batas 5 p.m., o hashtag Basta Batas 6 p.m.? Ulitin ko po anong oras ang tapos ng botohan sa October 30, 2023? Hashtag Basta Batas 3 p.m., hashtag Basta Batas 5 p.m., o hashtag Basta Batas 6 p.m. I-hashtag nyo na po sa ating comment section sa YouTube at saka sa Facebook Live at mamaya po iraraffle natin kung sino ang may tamang sagot at mananalo ho ng 160 pesos. So, naku mga kabatas, hanggang kailan ho magtitiis ang kabatas nating pinipigang magsustento sa anak kahit hiwalay na sila ng asawa? Maya-maya ho yan. Dito lamang po sa inyong Basta Batas. Ayan. Alright.
Mga kabatas, huwag niyo pong kakalimutan sa mga gusto pong magtanong kay Atty. Edward Chico for our libreng payong legal. It's 0917-431-1244. Huwag niyo pong kalimutan.
0939.
But at this moment, pinag-uusapan po natin kanina yung tungkol sa election na darating sa October 30. But right this moment, gusto lang po naming putulin sandali ang programa tungkol sa election, kasi po we feel that it is also our public duty, public responsibility to inform yung ating mga kabatasang ating audience on radio and social media kung ano po yung latest development, ano yung mga nangyayari, kaganapan sa hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas, kung hindi sa ibang parte po ng mundo. Particularly, yung pong tungkol sa gera na nangyayari sa Gaza, sa Israel, between Israel at saka yung teroristang grupo na Hamas. This afternoon, we are very much privileged to introduce to you, mga kabatasang ating pong bisita. He is a retired general ng Israeli Defense Force. If I'm not mistaken, Israeli Defense Force, right? Siya po ay for 30 years, if I'm not mistaken, naging combat pilot ng Israeli Defense Force. Ngayon po siya ay retired general na at dati po siyang presidente ng Israeli Chamber of Commerce dito sa Pilipinas. And of course, meron din po siya, meron siyang, I think he's also part of a company that is engaged sa cybersecurity. Walang iba po kung hindi si retired General Sagiv Masad. Sir, good afternoon and welcome to Basta Batas.
Good afternoon. Thank you for...
Let me just help General with this microphone.
Malakas daw ng bed.
Okay, good afternoon and thank you very much for having me today with you.
Good afternoon, General. This is Atty. Edward Chico with me and Rico John Ferrer. Go ahead.
Okay. So mga kabatas, magtatanong po tayo sa ating pong bisita para maintindihan natin kung ano po ba ang nangyayari na sigalot dito po sa pagitan ng Israel at ng Hamas, sapagkat ito ay napakalalim. Well, good afternoon, General. I just would like to ask this in behalf of our listeners. So when has this issue between the Hamas and the Israeli government, when has this actually started? What is the root cause of this?
Well, it's a long story about facts in history, but I can say that Israel was established upon a resolution of the United Nations that split that area, that country that was under the British mandate. It is actually separated into two countries, one country for the Jewish people, one country for the Arab people. The Jewish accepted this decision to separate the country, to divide the country. Unfortunately, the Arabs didn't, and since then we are in dispute. There are many stories about that, but the fact is that when the independent war was ended and Israel was established, and the territory that's supposed to be a Palestinian country was held by Egypt and Jordan, they didn't give the Palestinians independence. The second phase is when on 1967 Israel conquered this area. And
so you're talking about the Six-Day War?
Six-Day War, yes. And since then, Israel tried to provide an end to this dispute by offering, 2004, for example, it was the generous offer of Israel to provide an independent state for the Palestinians on the area that is called West Bank and Gaza. And there were three requests from Israel, three conditions. One, that we will end the dispute between Palestinians and Israelis. The second one is this, the Israeli refugees from the Arab countries were settled in Israel. The Palestinian refugees should be settled in the Palestinian state that will be established, and Israel will support with that. And the Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Unfortunately, the Palestinians rejected it.
So what was the reason for the rejection? Because at least on its face, it seems to be a logical conclusion to the problem by offering, or at least by providing an opportunity for them to finally become a state and for them to finally be able to actually govern themselves the way they should. So that is actually an attractive proposal. So what was the reason why the other party rejected this seemingly plausible solution to the problem?
Here we are coming to the extremists between the Palestinians. And I want to emphasize that we are not talking about the whole Palestinians.
Okay,
there
that is very clear.
And it is also important to say that here people in the Philippines that support to free Palestine and all these things do not understand that Palestine, or Gaza at least, is not under Israeli control for 17 years already. It is under the control of the Hamas. So if they want to free Gaza, free from the regime of these terrorists. And the reason we call them terrorists is that according to their charter, the existence of Israel should be demolished. And they have to build their own country over the ashes of the state of Israel. Of course, we cannot accept it. So,
So
no
it's your
matter...
annihilation.
Yeah.
The annihilation of the Israel.
Yeah,
the Israel
exactly.
people.
But if I'm not
Exactly.
mistaken, there was also an issue that was raised by them saying that the problem is that Israel has always been intending to expand further. And in fact, they also make this allegation that the government is in reality even inviting some of their citizens to finally return to Israel. And because of that, as a result of that, so a lot of them are potentially would be displaced by this development. So what can we say about that? Because they seem to be harping on the fact that Israel seems to be in its seemingly endless quest to continuously expand its territory to their prejudice.
Okay. Well, look at the facts. Gaza is an area, the Gaza Strip is an area where Israel left 17 years ago. These 17 years, the Hamas that control this area could make it a heaven. The fact is that all the support, international support, budgets from United Nations, from Europe, from Japan, from many other countries, were actually wasted to build a military force that will be able to actually kick the Jewish people out of their state. More than that, Iran, which is a key partner here in this game, unfortunately, because Iran and Israel are as Thailand and Philippines. Just imagine that Thailand people will decide that Philippines has no right to exist, and they will try to involve in the situation here. That's what happened with Iran, that finance and support Hezbollah from the north, from Lebanon, and the Hamas in Gaza. And you can see so many stories about Israel's support of electricity. We are providing electricity, we are providing water, we are providing all the necessities there. And yet they are with this perception to destroy Israel. So rockets are launched to the power plant that provide electricity to the Palestinians, to the water plant that provide water to the Palestinians.
So it is not true, General, that you have deliberately destroyed the sources of water,
Or at least denied them
yeah,
access to this
electricity.
The truth is that all the conflicts until the last one, we didn't do that because of the image of humanitarian disaster and so
Yeah.
on and so on. But they hit the power plant or the power plant surrounding, and for the safety of the people there, we had to close it and so on. This time it is different. Look, this time is something that never happened since the Holocaust to the Jewish people. 1,400 civilians were slaughtered, killed, their head was cut, babies were burned alive, pregnant woman, the belly was opened, the kid inside was stabbed and then killed, raped, horrible things made by these Hamas people. And just for the proportion, imagine that 16,000 Filipino men and women were slaughtered that way. This is the proportion between the 9.5 million Israelis and the population of your country. So the proportion of cruelty was not there. Now Israel said, okay, the goal of this war, and this is the first time since 1973 that we declare war on someone. All the all the events, the previous events, were never under a war. Now in war we are recruiting thousands, hundreds of soldiers that are civilians, and based on these reservist forces we start to push the enemy away. This war is not against the Palestinians. It is against this terrorist
Hamas.
ISIS
Yeah.
organization, Hamas.
So for sir, how has the West Bank responded? Will West Bank be a problem too, or is this something that is just contained in the territory being occupied by the Hamas?
West Bank is a great example for coexistency. And I will explain. In the West Bank, the governor is the Palestinian Authority. And the Palestinian Authority was also the governing authority in Gaza. However, Hamas kicked them away in a coup d'etat. Now, it was not Israelis that throw Palestinian Authority officials from the roofs and kill them and slaughter them. It was the Hamas. And the Hamas is the one that control and use their civil population as human shields. Stories that are unbelieved. And we will not agree anymore that this ISIS will be in our borders. Exactly like the United States kick ISIS from Syria and Iraq. Exactly as United States had a war against Al-Qaeda, we had enough.
Yeah, we had enough. But at least in the international media, there seems to be this narrative that is being peddled now that Israel could have done it more diplomatically than what it actually did. And in fact, the allegation is that there, we need to factor collateral damage here. And sometimes you can even see in social media pictures of Palestinian children, being caught in the gauntlet, in the crossfire. So there's this criticism that Israel, being superior to at least to the Hamas, could have exercised more caution, and instead of potentially triggering a problem that might be exacerbated should allied nations would join and participate. So what can you say about this allegation or criticism?
I want to say two things.
Your reaction is an overkill as per the comments.
The first thing is the proportionate retaliation or the proportionate action. Now, what is a proportionate action to raping hundreds of women? To rape hundreds of women? What is the proportionate of chop off 40 kids below 10 years old? Chop their head off. To find 40 people, 40 kids in Gaza? 250 civilians were killed in a Music and Love festival. So we need to find a festival in Gaza and to kill 250 people. So what is the proportionate? Was proportionate reaction was requested by the Americans after 7/11, after 9/11?
Yeah.
No, the world didn't say that. So double standards are there when you are talking about Jews. Second thing, we are not using our own people as human shields. It is the Hamas that prevent their people to live through the humanitarian corridors that we established outside of the war zone.
Yeah, because
They block their people because they need them to be human shields in order to create the image that catastrophe is being there.
Yeah, in fairness to the Israeli government, they've been issuing caveats, warnings. They've been sending notices.
They dropped leaflets,
Yeah.
thousands of leaflets.
We had
As a warning.
to attack checkpoints of the Hamas that prevented Palestinians to go away from this area in order to let the population go out from this area. And the last thing, guys, when we are talking about using human shields, it is our obligation as a former Defense Force senior officer. It is our obligation not to the Palestinians, not to the world community. It is our obligation to ourselves. Our moral standards are higher than hitting civilians wherever they are. And I can tell you that we are doing all the efforts to avoid that. But when it comes to the question whether my mother will be killed by a rocket launched by the Hamas from civil population towards civil population, or prevent this launch by taking the risk that his mother will be hurt, then it becomes my mother or his mother. The difference is that he is trying to kill my mother. I try to avoid killing his mother. And when his mother against mother, you know the answers because Filipinos will do the same.
Let's bring the discussion about this more closer to the Philippines, the Filipinos. When you say, because I think there's a growing support for the Palestinian people that were affected clearly because of this war, but they somehow do not understand, as you have explained earlier, the Hamas people, they don't represent the Palestinians in general, if I'm not mistaken. The Hamas, you said, they belong to the terrorist groups.
It is
a terrorist group similar to Hezbollah, ISIS. And ISIS has been identified to have an extended organization or clout here in the Philippines, also with the Jamaah Islamiyah of Indonesia. How are we affected indirectly as Filipinos who have been fighting insurgencies for the longest that I can remember?
Will you accept that minority of the Muslims, the Filipino Muslims, will decide that the Filipino government here in Manila has no right to exist, and they will launch attacks on Malacanang, on the Department of National Defense, on the PNP headquarters, on Armed Forces quarter, but on top of that, they will just bombard day and night Makati, or Mandaluyong, or Manila City, knowing that their target are civilians.
Okay. Was the government caught by surprise, or was the attack really anticipated, except that you were not just able to prepare fully for it, or was it really something that caught you off guard?
There are three levels here of surprise. One is the perception. Israel perception, the leadership perception was that if we will enable the Hamas to live in Gaza, they will deal with their own people, with education, with health care, with other elements, and they will gradually focus on that rather on fighting with us. That found to be wrong. The second thing is that our military leadership failed to identify the signs for a near attack. It was a holiday in Israel.
Yes.
Many soldiers were out of the bases for joining their families for the holidays, and we were caught by surprise there. The third one was that we didn't believe or imagine the cruelty of these terrorists.
Okay. Sir, I don't know if you are in a position to answer this, but let me just ask this anyways, because this has been an issue that's been circulating in both SOCMED and in the international media. So are we saying that were it not for Iran, this would not have been made possible by the Hamas, or should Iran be blamed for this, or how does the Israeli government view this narrative that somehow Iran has a hand in this?
Can I just support that question, General? Because and they say that it is because Israel and Saudi Arabia are now in good terms. This is what irritated Iran and the Hamas, fearing that they will be further isolated. Is that what triggered?
Okay, so I want to answer by few questions. What does Iran has to do in Yemen with the
Yemen.
Houthis there and with the destroy of the Yemen state? What do Iran has to do with what happened in Lebanon, where organization of Shiite Muslims controlling a democratic country that's supposed to be free of that, with a Christian majority, by the way? What does Iran has to do with the support in Afghanistan? What does Iran have to do with their support in Iraq and in Syria? What does Iran has to do with all these states which are not Israelis, which are not Jews? So Iran is involving with so many unrest, according to their perception, of building the new Muslim empire, controlling or leading by Iran all around the area that the previous old empire was. Now Israel is one of the places. And Israel is one of the places because of the fact that first we are Jews, we are not Muslims. All the rest are communities of Muslims against Muslims, Shiites against Sunnites. And the fact that we are holding the third capital or the third holy city of the Muslims. Now everyone that is coming to Israel, to Jerusalem, will see how we are practicing freedom of belief.
Coexistence.
Total coexistence.
So this
and more
issue
than
has
that,
nothing to do with faith. It has nothing to do with...
it has
Because
to do
they
with,
say it goes back. Oh, the issue goes back biblical times.
it has to do with the fact that according to the Iranians, this area should be leading by Iran to become a Muslim empire, and we are part of the problems that they are solving.
And they want to eliminate all Jews. That's what you're saying.
That's another thing. Islam has different approaches to Jewish people and to Christians, by the way. But all these approaches do not allow Jewish or Christian domination over holy places or over territory of Islam.
Okay.
Now, the question is, what is the definition? The definition is the mosque. The definition, because they have autonomous area on the mountain where the mosques are. Whether it is Jerusalem, whether it is all Israel, what is the limitation of this holiness thing?
Okay. Another issue which I hope you can answer. It's nice to know that before we were supposed to do this, we actually asked General Sagiv about the questions that we can possibly ask him about, and he said no holds barred, so we can basically ask any question under the sun. pertaining to this issue. So there's this narrative too that's being peddled now, that if you look at the arrangement that was actually made between the Israeli government and the people on the one hand and the Palestinian people on the other hand, it seems that at least the allegation is that it's not actually a fair arrangement that is actually mutually beneficial to both parties, because in fact, look at the Gaza Strip, for example. So it was heavily populated. So when you talk about population density, it was not really very encouraging there. People are going through hardships, and they're actually very dependent on Israel, for example. And there is also limitation as regards their freedom of movement. So long and short of it, the situation in Gaza, at least, is not really something that's very encouraging, something that certainly would, cause people to take matters into their own hands, considering the perceived inequality when it comes to treatment. So how do you respond to this? Because, that has been a narrative that at least based on my every time I check my news, my Facebook news feed, it's something that I always see every so often. So how do you respond to that?
Do you know that prior to October 7, tens of thousands of Palestinian workers from Gaza left every day to Israel to work in Israel? Do you know that...
So it's not true that there is restriction as regards their freedom of movement.
They have work permits, right?
They are being...
What do you mean?
Because
freedom. Do you have the ability to go tomorrow to United States because you want to go there?
Yeah, but at least in your
There
case,
is a checkpoint.
Yes,
So there is a
Yeah.
checkpoint. There are different entities and there is a checkpoint. Filipinos think that it is something like we are not allowed them to move. They can move in Gaza wherever they want, left, right, and center. If they want to move to Israel, there are checkpoints, and we make sure that those who are going to go to work in Israel are not terrorists. This is our legit right to do. And tens of thousands of them are coming to work in Israel because many of them are peaceful people.
And you do not have any problem with that, of course.
Otherwise, we wouldn't let it happen. We are taking Palestinian sick people to our hospitals out of humanitarian obligation there. We are providing them water, electricity, and all these things. The perception that we don't allow them to move, there is an apartheid. It is such a... Look, there are Israeli Arabs, 1.2 Israeli Arabs, Christians, Muslims, Druze, and other minorities, which are Israelis.
Okay.
They are the most democratic community around us in the whole Arab world. We have Supreme Court judge who is Palestinian. We have in our parliament we have 10 or 15% of the members are Muslims, Christians, and so on and so on. We have generals who are non-Jewish. We have soldiers who are not Jewish. We are a democratic country. As for the Palestinians, those who want to live with us with coexisting peaceful arrangement, they are welcome to do that. Look what happened in Ramallah, the capital of the Palestinian Authority, a flourish city. Look what happened in Jerusalem, a flourish city. The media here is so biased toward the Palestinians, and it is not the Palestinians that we are going to fight with. These are the Hamas.
So that should be clarified. So it has nothing to do with the Palestinian people. It has to do with the Hamas.
It has to do with the Palestinians,
Yes.
because there are many Palestinians that support the Hamas.
But I'm just wondering, sir, how will this actually end? Is it really an all-out war that will only end when Hamas is fully destroyed? Or would there be a possibility of at least both parties trying to, reach out for an amicable
A
settlement for
ceasefire,
this?
perhaps?
We will not agree anymore. And when I say we,
Okay.
the Israeli people, by the way, along with the Jewish, Christians, Muslims of Israel, the Israeli citizens will not agree anymore. And we have
Anymore.
95 degrees of percent of support in Israel.
All right.
We will not agree to have Hamas near our borders.
So you're saying enough is
want,
enough.
Those who want Hamas, please take them to Turkey, take them to Qatar,
Egypt.
Egypt, wherever there are their supporters. Take them there. We are talking about thousands of guerrilla people. We are not talking about the whole population. And let the Jewish population, the Israeli population, and the Palestinian population to live in peace.
What is the assurance that this will not actually trigger something bigger? Like this will not actually be exacerbated further, where actually several nations would actually be involved. As we all know, for the longest time historically, the problem in Israel has always been identified as a possible cause of another world war, and I'm pretty sure you are aware of that sentiment. And a lot of Filipinos are actually worried. What if, for example, this would lead into something much more complicated, where Arab nations, for example, would actually join in the fray and participate in the war, where allies of Israel, for example, would be compelled to also likewise take part in this war. So what is the assurance that it will not lead into something as catastrophic as that? And I guess it's a valid concern from many people, particularly Filipinos, because as you all know, we have an existing mutual defense treaty with the U.S., and we've always been a supporter of the U.S. So wherever the U.S. goes, we go. So how do we assure the public that this is something that is calculated, not driven by mere outrage because of what the Hamas did to Israel initially?
Facts. Number one, we have peace treaty with Egypt, Jordan, Morocco, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and we are toward peace with Saudi.
And
That's
that-
what,
yeah,
by
that
the
should
way,
be clarified,
triggered
yeah.
the Iranians, because an access between
Yes.
Egypt, Israel, Jordan, and Saudi, United Arab Emirates is too much to
Yes,
accept by the Iranians. That is one thing. The other thing, for you Filipinos, I think you should be very happy with the stand of United States, because when you, even it's a Democratic party,
Yes.
president and so on, when you push the wrong trigger to United States, they are with their allies.
Yes.
It happened in Israel. It, God forbid, it might
Hopefully,
happen
it
here.
won't happen here, yeah.
United States demonstrate how strong she is with her allies. Same with Taiwan. So I think that the balance between the main powers in the world is strength by this United States situation or stand with Israel. And I do believe that it is time for the Filipinos to stand with us, exactly as we stood with you when we were the first among the nations sending here aid and establish here field hospital during Yolanda, exactly as we helped you, literally helped you in the Marawi conflict, and exactly as we are standing for the Philippines whenever Philippines is needing.
General, you mentioned about Arab countries. What about Iraq? Because I know that after the U.S. Exterminated or removed Saddam Hussein, was it the Shiite or the Sunnis that the one identified with the Iranians,
Shiites.
Shiites, they gained more power and influence, and they took advantage of the absence of Saddam Hussein. Is there any treaty between Israel and Iraq, or because the Iranians are more or less the majority or those having sentiments with the Iranians have the majority of the population of Iraq these days?
Iraq is a very complicated situation. There are Saddam was Sunni minority that controlled the Shiites, which are the majority. There are the Kurds there. It's such a complicated situation. I don't think we have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
All right, but two last questions, General. There's a waning support. Would you agree? The waning support for the Israelites, for the Jews, because they say, you know, the reaction is an overkill, etc., etc. In the global arena, in the international community, and here in the Philippines, there's not much support. As much as we would like to see, there's not much support, you know, for Israel. Because their sentiments is as you have as Attorney Edward Chico explained earlier, is with the victims or those who were killed.
The collateral damage.
The collateral damage. What do you think is the problem? The communication of your government? Is it the propaganda, or are there any foreign interventions or putting pressure, avoiding countries, Philippines, for example, not to openly at least support Israel?
I think that it is more complicated. There is a lot of money involved there. There is a lot of perceptions about who is the weak, who is the strong, who is the right, who is the wrong. There are not many times in the world history where there was so clear war between evil and good. Now, the Filipinos can take that side or that side. We don't much care about the world sentiments.
Yeah.
We care about two things. First of all, to be safe, and second, to do it with moral standards that we oblige to ourselves. And people don't understand it. We can't make a barbarian war, not because we can't do it physically, because our military people will not obey something like that. We are obliged to the morals of the Bible, to the morals of the Jewish people, to the standards of war, international and local Israeli ones, and we will conduct a war accordingly. And therefore, if we can justify it to us, if I can look at the eyes of my son, who is reservist in the paratroop, or my daughter, who is reservist now with the Air Force, and I can look at their eyes, and I know that they did all they could to avoid collateral damage, to avoid hurting non-involved people, I know that we are doing the right thing. And we will win, and we will do it once and for all, and we will do it with the minimum collateral damage, with the support of the Filipino people and without it.
Yeah, but there's this narrative too that you are basically trying to kill an idea or an ideology. So even if you eliminate all of the members of the Hamas now, if the ideology still persists, then at some point there would be new people who would embrace the same
young kids
and pose another problem. So aside from an all-out war, how exactly would Israel approach this problem to make sure that, you know, there would no longer be a repetition of that horrendous attack that was made against Israel?
You're very right. We hope that the consideration after Hamas will be leaving that area will include education, will include prosperity that will be provided by all international forces that can cooperate there. And we hope that the next generation will be a generation that will be educated not to hate Israelis, but to live with Israel.
Assuming the Hamas would leave the Gaza Strip and would no longer pose any problem, what sort of forms of assistance would the Israeli government extend to the Palestinian people so that they can pretty much recover from the damage that was brought about by this war?
Look, Israel is 9.5 million people only.
Okay.
Okay, half of Metro Manila. But we are the 30th strong economy in the world. We offered, we supply,
Yeah.
and we
Yes.
already have the plans to support the Palestinians together with international support. Gaza can be the Middle East Singapore. If they wanted to do that, they could do it 17 years ago as we left. This is time for radical
Yes,
change
okay.
there.
Okay.
And the radical change is on all the aspects, from education to current prosperity that we should provide to the Palestinians that will choose to live with us in peace.
And again, we repeat, no, mga kabatas, ang laban po ng Israel is not against sa mga civilians ng bansang Palestine, kung hindi yung terroristang organization na tinatawag na Hamas. All right. Before we close, what's the message? What's your message, General, to the Filipino audience listening from Tuguegarao to Basta Batas, all the way to Tuguegarao to all the way to Bohol, and even Filipinos in general, as a nation? What is your call for solidarity? What would you like to see?
As a follow-up question to that, I might forget this. So we have to understand that there are Filipinos working in Israel right now.
There were casualties also.
So what is the guarantee, therefore, that our Filipino citizens in Israel would actually be afforded safety and protection because of this ongoing problem there?
I suggest that you will interview some Filipinos that are living in Israel and ask them if they want to leave Israel now because of the uncertainty. The answer for most of them is not, and those who wish to leave, we support them to leave. Most of the Filipino workers in Israel are enjoying
They want to stay
the
there.
best conditions, for sure in the Middle East, but I think also in Europe.
Yeah, when it comes to labor,
labor rules, social support,
And
education, and so
DFA
on.
has been in close coordination with the Israeli government in terms of providing security, support, and
safety,
repatriation for those who would like to leave.
Yeah.
Your call for solidarity, for
what's your message?
support.
My message is like that. Israel stood for the Philippines whenever Philippines needed it. We are in a time where international solidarity is required for us. As I said, it is part of the things that we wish. Learn a little bit about the conflict. Educate yourself. Do not see all these TikTok and Facebook propaganda which is financed by the terrorists in so many ways. Israel is fighting for the sake of a safer world. Not only the Middle East, not only the Israelis, but a safer world, because world without Hamas and ISIS is a safer world for all of us. And for that, I hope that Filipinos will have second thoughts about the way that they look at the whole conflict over there.
Attorney General, if you don't mind, mga kabatas, Rico dyan, no? Kasi umattend ako kahapon ng event ng Israeli Chamber of Commerce, mga kabatas. Yung kanilang President Emeritus, si Itamar Gero. He made a very emotional speech. Kasama po ng pag-share ni General Sagiv tungkol sa experience ng day-to-day life sa Israel. Ang kanyang mother-in-law, who was I think 80 years old?
82 years old.
82 years old, is forced to leave yung bahay niya at tumira kasama po yung kanyang may bahay kasi hindi na po niya kayang tumakbo ng within 30 seconds. Ganun pala doon, attorney? The moment marinig nila yung siren, kailangan within 30 seconds. Dati daw, within 15 seconds eh. Kailangan within 30 seconds, takbo ka kaagad sa ilalim, sa bunker. Since matanda na nga po, hindi na ho niya kayang gawin. So, kinailangan na siyang sumama dun sa kanyang may bahay. And then, ang kanyang anak na lalaki will be serving, your son is called for service,
Yes,
General, right?
Like all the Israeli
Yes, as a paratrooper, and then ang kanyang anak na babae ay tinawag na rin po as part of your daughter is which part of Air Force?
Air Force Special Unit.
Okay, Air Force Service Unit.
Special unit
Special
of the
unit.
Air Force, and she's
Alright. And
reservist there.
And si General Sagiv ay pupunta na po, babalik sa Israel, mga kabatas, anytime soon.
Yeah, when are you going back to Israel, sir?
Well, my wartime position is a little bit delicate, so I can't
Yes.
discuss
But
that more.
he served his country, and lahat po sila doon sa Israel ay obligadong mag-defend
Para
ano,
yan sa South
sa laban
Korea,
nito.
oo.
Correct, oo.
But
Dun
if I may have 2 sentences,
Yes, please.
the heartbreaking for me is not my mother-in-law, not my kids, it's my grandkid. My grandkid, 2.5 years old, has to be in 30 seconds in her shelter. And in order to do that by herself, because her mother,
Yes.
my daughter, she has another kid,
A
4-month-old baby, so she need to carry the baby. So the little one need to run to the shelter by herself.
Herself.
And in order to do that, they trained her that if she run there and reach first, she get chocolate. And they are imitating sirens, so she will run in and she'll get chocolate. So now this
Yes.
2.5 years old lady know how to run to the shelter by herself because she's treated there with chocolate. What a horrible game you are having
Yes, exactly.
with your kids.
That's
This is
true.
our reality. And we don't agree to continue with this reality anymore.
So in other words, if the Israeli government has its way, it doesn't want to resort into an all-out war. It's just that given the circumstances,
They're forced to go to war.
there seems to be no other option but to do the same.
Correct.
So we are actually very, very thankful.
I just want to
General
read,
Sagiv.
Attorney, this one from the last part of Itamar's message. Kasi po, it reflects yung, this really hit me hard. It reflects yung kanilang nararamdaman, yung kanilang kinalakihan. He grew up with this environment. He said, for the ones here who can't grasp the necessity of fighting or war, who can't fathom the images, sabi niya, I envy you. The ones who haven't lost family or friends to acts of terror, I envy you. The ones that don't check a bus, eto yung mabigat before boarding it, I envy you. The ones who publicly display their symbols of faith without a second thought, I envy you. If you're not thinking twice about whether to send your kids to school today due to fear of them being attacked, I envy you. If you've been spared the shadow of terror and extremism, cherish that blessing and hold your loved ones close. For many of us in Israel, sabi niya, and the Middle East, such luxuries remain elusive because of the existence of those extremist groups or yung Hamas. Sabi niya, it's a reminder sa ating mga Pilipino, mga kabatas, na tayong mga nag-e-enjoy po ng, wala tayong problema. We send our kids to school every day. We go to work. We ride the public transportation. Wala po tayong problema. Hindi ho natin iniisip at the back of my mind, kailan tutunog yung siren? Kasi baka padala na kami ng bomba ng mga Abu Sayyaf or Jama Islamiyah. We don't experience that. It is something na dapat po ay magpasalamat tayo sa Diyos dahil hindi natin yun na-experience every day. Sila, on the other hand, they grew up with that and they still experience it the same today. General, thank you very much for your time. Mga kabatas, we extended our program specifically for this because we really want to give awareness to the issue that will definitely it will trickle down sa ating economy. One way or another, di ba, Rico, dyan mararamdaman natin yan.
And we need to be able to get the perspective, of course, of the Israeli government on this because there is a seeming confusion amongst the public as regards the issue. And it's very important for General Sagiv to be able to assure the public that, number one, this has nothing to do with the Palestinian people. It has to do with the Hamas. Number two, that the government doesn't seek to destroy or ruin or devastate, that it is actually just compelled to resort into war because that is the only option that's available to them. And at number 3, there would always be, should there be an opportunity to end this amicably and should there be an opportunity to provide help, the Israeli government would in a heartbeat provide for the same. So it's this your what you explained to us, General Sagiv, is really very, very important in illuminating the seemingly conflicting issues about this, and also in trying to at least articulate the sentiment of the Israeli government. I hope this is not going to be the last time that we would be interviewing you.
Thank you very much. When everything will be calm down and peace will be there, we recommend you to visit our beautiful country.
Of course.
Because Filipinos don't need visa to visit Israel.
Yes, yesterday.
In fact, my mother wanted to go to Israel. We were supposed to book her. But, the war erupted. So, we had to postpone
Yes,
that.
I want to see the of Bathsheba,
It is,
where she took a bath.
it
Oh, by
is-
the way,
it is a land of milk and honey,
Yes.
and we are trying to make it so.
there you go.
So,
You
You're
know,
very, very welcome, and thank you for this opportunity.
incidentally, mga
Yeah.
kabatas, ha, Rico Jan, attorney, at pakisabi kay Mr. Rondel Olarte, ha, incidentally, si General Sagiv is from the tribe of Judah. Hello! Kung hindi
General
nyo
Sagiv.
alam, ang tribe of Judah, galing doon si King David. Hello!
Once everything is restored into normalcy, so to speak, we will go to Israel and we will ransack his place. So
You're most welcome. Most welcome.
Mga kabatas, Rico Jan, I'll end it na.
Yes,
Yung pong mga nanalo sa ating contest, we will just inform
wala
you
na
kung
tayong
sino po
time,
ipopost namin sa ating social media who won the 160 pesos load. He's here. 160 pesos, so cheap. At mga kabatas, huwag niyo pong kalimutan kung kayo po ay may mga tanong. 09, ano to? 09, nasaan na nawala ako?
You forgot about the
093943112444. Doon po sa OFW, madam, that was scammed. I'll get back to you. I'll personally call you. I know you're watching. At saka doon sa dalawang nag-away, hoping that we can mediate. I'll personally get in touch with
Yes.
you. Pag paumanhin niyo po, inuna lang namin itong topic na to.
Dahil importante rin na maintindihan ng ating mga
Yes,
kababayan
very much.
kung ano ang nangyayari sa Israel
Oo.
at ano ang epekto nito sa ating bansa at sa ating
Correct.
mga mamamayan.
Yes, support
Ayan.
Israel. This is a battle between good and evil. Rico Jan, go ahead.
Alright, with that, maraming salamat po sa inyong panonood at sa inyong pakinig, mga kaibigan. Ako po si Rico John Ferrer ng 95.9 Big Sound FM Baguio. God bless you. God bless the whole world.
And at syempre ito po si Atty. Edward Chico na nagsasabi sa inyo na paumanin po sa mga hindi po namin nasagot na mga katanungang panligal. Kung magpapadala kayo ng pera, kung gusto niyo po complete with production number, mamaya gagawin natin yan. Nireview lang po. Ipunin niyo lang yung tanong ninyo at sisikapin po namin sagutin kahit wala po sa ere.
Uy, mga kabatas ha, don't forget, October 30, please vote wisely. My goodness. Diba?
When we say vote wisely, don't vote wisely, okay? we mean you exercise, you use your...
Correct. Mula po sa bumubuo ng Basta Batas sa pamumuno po ng aming President and CEO na si Noel Galvez, kasama
The
sina
number
Bruce Mones, Victor Villanueva at Alberto Pascual. Gayon po ang mga production team mula sa iba't ibang himpilan ng aming radyo. Taos puso po kami nagpapasalamat sa inyong panonood at pakikinig. Ang Basta Batas ay patuloy pong magbibigay umulan, umaraw, lumindol o hindi ng kaalaman sa batas upang kayo po ay maging mabuti, mapanuri at responsableng mamamayan ng bayan. Ito po si Jen Galvez na lagi nagpapaalala kung may tama, purihin, kung may mali, punahin. Kasama po namin, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, retired General Sagiv Masad ng Israeli Defense Force. Siya po ay miyembro ng Air Force noon. Thank you very much, sir. We'd like to extend a prayer of protection and blessing sa pamilya, sa family, sa children ni General Sagiv and to himself at sa buong Israeli Defense Force, sa buong Israel. Lord, Father, you are the protector. You are the merciful God. You who parted the Red Sea. You who allowed us to just cross and overcome adversities no matter what, assuring that you will always be with us. Father, I pray for protection. I pray for provision, and I pray for good to win over evil. I pray, Lord God, that you will just intervene and just give victory to the Israeli people, Father God, as you have always done so. Thank you, Lord God, and we pray, Lord, that you will cover us with your traveling mercies wherever we go. Amen. Until next week, magsama-sama po ulit tayo dito lang sa Basta Batas. This is your Vanguard Radio Network.
Important reminder, the opinion and views of the host and guests are not necessarily the stand of Vanguard Radio Network and its management.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.
Basta Batas.